Okay, there we go. I was muted. Brandon, I keep unmuting you, and then you. Let me do it. All right.
I think it's fine now.
Yeah. So I was pointing out that I was not seated because Ruby was in my chair. But
I saw that.
here we are. Yeah, my hair is soaked. I just got out of the shower because I did a.
Thanks.
I ran for a couple miles. I'm trying to get
Nice.
my stamina up for this basketball league we're doing.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
I've
I
never
wanted
played
to get
basketball like properly.
Oh,
Like,
well.
I've thrown a basketball into a
This
hoop,
is a
but I've never played
recreational league,
basketball.
right? We're old men at this point, so it's not like
Yeah, no, I
we're
just
not going
never
anywhere.
even played like a proper, even just like
Okay.
amateur game. I've only ever just thrown the ball in the hoop and been like, yeah.
Okay. I think I just did I mess up the stream a little bit? Let me see if I can fix it.
I can't tell
I was so unprepared. Okay, I think it's just some back end stuff. I don't think people were able to do super chats or anything. You should be able to now. Yeah. All right. Okay. So hopefully you guys can hear me. There we go. Boom Mini with a gifted membership already to start. Thank you very much, Boom Mini. Really much appreciate that.
Thank you.
And who is the? All right, I'll pull this tab over here. Card Fight Chris has won this membership. Congratulations. Nice. Yeah. All right. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is how we are now 29 days. Well, probably more like 28 and a half days away from the Super Nintendo Direct, the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct, or as Nintendo's calling it, the Nintendo Direct Nintendo Switch 2 presentation. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about this every day, right? 29 is a somewhat special number for me. It's nothing crazy. It's just kind of my birthday's on October 29th, so I tend to notice 29, right? Or like whenever.
I'm pretty sure that's the reason.
Yeah, it's the reason. It's nothing insane.
I have so many birthdays to remember. Sometimes I'm like, is that? I was like, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But like whenever it's like 10:29, I'm like, oh, 10:29 p.m., 10:29 a.m. It's my birthday, right? Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition was announced on my birthday on October 29th. So
nice.
29 days away, and every day we just get we're just one day closer, right? I know it's been a long wait. It's been,
honestly, I haven't felt like it's been that long.
Okay.
I feel like they announced it last week, but I think there's just been a lot of things going on in my personal life where it's just like time has just been, I've disassociated.
Yeah, I think we just we live in different worlds right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll also say that like I'm not always like waiting for Nintendo news, right? But it kind of depends, right now I am, because there's not as much to talk about, right?
Right.
I mean, I did just put out today a graphics comparison for Pokemon Legends ZA.
I saw that. I liked it.
I'm glad you liked it, right? So for me, that's interesting, right? But I also acknowledge that a lot of my audience doesn't care, right? So it's kind of me reaching out to a different audience there, right? Like, I know what a lot of us are waiting for is the next 3D Mario, the next Mario Kart, Metroid Prime 4, Zelda.
Yeah.
Like, when are we going to see? What are we going to see those things? The Switch 2 Direct. That's probably when we're going to see it. So today, what we're going to focus on in particular is discussing what the biggest surprise of the Switch 2 Direct will be. Obviously, we do not know, right? But we're gonna try and figure that what that will be, right? Like, so for example, it's not going to be Mario Kart, we assume, right? Because we already know about Mario Kart, unless there's something insane about Mario Kart that one of you might want to suggest that would be surprising, right? Like maybe it doesn't have to be an announcement to, like a game itself, but maybe something about a game. I guess that's possible. But of course, it doesn't even have to do with the games. It could, in theory, be about the system, its features. So we're gonna, entertain the idea of what the biggest surprise of Switch 2 will be. And of course, all of you in the chat, I invite you to suggest your own ideas on this, and that's what we're gonna chat about for about an hour or two, and that's the plan this time. But as I've told you, I'm gonna be doing more live streams. There's gonna be different like community polls and stuff every day. There's gonna be some sort of acknowledgement of how much closer we're getting to the Switch 2 Direct.
The countdown.
The countdown.
Yes.
Yeah. And so coming into the chat here, I'm assuming everything's looking and running fine, but if there is any issues, please let me know. Let's see here. Nishquick Pops added me. Will we see Persona 6? I thought we'd see it at the Game Awards, but now I hope to see it in the April 2nd Direct. So I'm not really much of a Persona expert.
It could, but historically, I don't think Nintendo events are where Persona games get announced.
Well,
they're usually on like PlayStation first. I'm not too familiar with the series, so I could be wrong. But I thought, aren't they usually like on other consoles before Nintendo typically?
Yeah, no, that's correct. But maybe it'll be different for Switch 2 because the Switch 2, the reason for that would be because they the Switch hasn't been powerful enough, right? So they focus on the other versions first, and then later down the road, like, hey, let's try and put a dedicated effort to get this running, right? But now with the Switch 2, maybe it's a little different, and maybe they do want to have their big announcement there. I mean, something to point out, right? Because Persona is made by
Atlas,
right? Atlas. I'm kind of isn't like Sega like. Is Atlas like under Sega?
I think Sega owns Atlas, maybe.
Yeah.
I think if either of them own each other, it'd be Sega only Atlas, right? Because Atlas would be much more than Sega.
Yeah. So Sega is the parent company, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just wondering because I remember Shin Megami Tensei 5, right? Like that was announced at the one presentation. So is it? I'm not gonna sit here.
That was a Switch 1 focus development. It did come to other platforms, but like the main focus for development was the Switch.
It came out on PC or something afterwards.
I don't expect Persona to be, but it could. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying the odds seem low to me.
I guess the point is that there's some level of precedent. So
it could happen.
Yeah. But are we predicting it? I don't think we have like any.
I'm not gonna, at least.
I don't have a lot of information, because I don't really focus on like Sega Atlas things on the matter. But it seems
same for me.
possible. Okay, here in Germany, it's already 28 days, but still painfully long. Damn, 28 days for you. We're very close. I mean, we're all gonna get the presentation at the same time, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
But it may be like. Morning for K, right? It's evening for us. Currently.
I guess for them it might be the 3rd or the 1st, or maybe not even the 2nd.
Pix Morgana adds me. What are the chances of seeing... Okay, so I think we just kind of talked about this with Nishquick. Yeah. Nintendo Prime in the chat. What's up, buddy? So yeah, I showed off Ruby, but she was muted this time. Tune in next time to hear her voice. She's actually a pretty quiet cat. She does make noises sometimes. When if there's like a lizard outside, she's like, she'll start meowing at it or something. But otherwise, she's a silent killer.
Yeah, my cat, Boots will just meow if he wants literally anything from me. So people will always be like, "Oh, I hear Ruby in the podcast." Nope.
No.
You hear him, Boots.
Yeah, you're in Mr. Boots.
He's talkative. He likes the chat. I don't
What's
know what
funny is
he's
that
chatting
Ruby
about.
Ruby looks like Puss in Boots, and your cat is named Boots.
Yeah, because he has like little white patches on his feet. They're not big enough to be like socks. I did have a cat named Socks growing up, but I didn't actually name this cat. My sister-in-law named him, and then I got the cat after. But I kept the
Yeah.
name.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing that was brought up, and I'm excited to talk about this. So Tayrul asks me, any thoughts on the Mr. Nintendad leak of Wind Waker Twilight Princess being the Switch 2 launch window? I have my doubts after the Dark Samus Hunter fallout. And I want to point out that Tayrul puts leak in, with quotes, right? So first, I think it's more than reasonable to be skeptical, especially after you may have been following a leaker and it doesn't look like they are as credible as they once were, right? But I also want to make the distinction because I think a lot of people they don't maybe like look at it with as much detail, right? And just kind of bunch things together. I would not put Nintendad even close to the category of Dark Samus Hunter. Nintendad, as far as I'm aware, has just been making posts on Instagram, calling them rumors or leaks or what have you, and there is zero evidence or zero track history of getting anything right. Now, a lot of these things are like basically just, pulling from stuff that people have already been talking about.
Right. Just educated
So
guesses set up
right,
to look like rumors.
Right. So the point is, maybe Nintendad is a leaker. I'm telling you that I don't think so because I haven't seen any track history at all. Now maybe there is, right? I haven't even looked that deeply into this person to be totally frank, right? But from everything I've heard and seen, there is zero track record of leaking things. Samus Hunter, on the other hand, we talked about last year, right? Yes, there was a past beforehand where there was a lot of things that actually got correct, and everyone likes to like push that under the rug because of the things they got wrong, right? And that is understandable, and so we stopped talking about them for a long while because of that, right? And we're probably going to stop talking about them now for at least a while, and perhaps forever, depending on if they get anything right. But in 2024, they said 4 things in a row and got them all correct, right? They, shortly before the new 2D Zelda game was announced, they talked about it on Twitter. All the receipts are there, right? You can go and you can look this up. And then shortly before we got the confirmation that MEO was a Famicom Detective Club game, Samus Hunter told us that. Pioro even backed him in that thread, or she, right? Pioro backed her in that thread talking about MEO the Smiling Man being a Famicom Detective Club game, and they even like leaked the purple motif of the purple motif of the game. And then for Xenoblade Chronicles X, yes, we had already been talking about it. We had already been predicting that it would happen, but Samus Hunter teased it a day before its announcement. So again, all this was in a row, right? Consecutive. It's not even like, it's not that, they said 20 things and got 3 or 4 right. No, these are all in a row, right? There wasn't anything wrong in between. These are all in a row. And then they teased 2 things at the same time. They teased Silksong and they teased the Donkey Kong Super Nintendo World Direct. They said the Silksong stuff would be coming a little bit later, right? But the Donkey Kong stuff happened immediately afterwards, right? So that was all consecutive. That was all in a row. That all came true. The Silksong stuff, I mean, we're past winter now. That was wrong. And then they also talked, and then this year in 2025, they've talked about like Metroid Prime 4 being a launch title. I'd love for that to be the case. I think you can make an argument. But right now, because Mario Kart was the first game Nintendo showed off in the Switch 2 trailer, and it was just one game, Mario Kart is a front runner. So it seems like they're wrong there, right? And they talked about us getting Kirby Planet Robot and Metroid Prime 2 in a direct last month. Hasn't happened yet. So it seems like they were probably wrong. Now, if we see a Prime 2 remaster, Kirby Planet Robot, in a direct within a week or two, then maybe you want to make the argument that perhaps the timing was just off a little bit. Maybe,
Yeah,
right? Um,
plans can change.
but the main point to be made here, right, is that Samus Hunter had a track record and then became spotty. So,
Right.
you make the decision if you want to trust it or not. But Nintendad, there is no track record. Might as well just trust a random forum post, on 4chan or something.
My uncle works at Nintendo.
Right. And so there is a difference there. I understand some people are upset about things not coming true, right? But I only cover things when there's a track history. Now, does that mean, again, track history doesn't mean that it's going to be correct. And there's no such thing as a 100% track history, right? The
No.
entire world trusts Nate the Hate, and Nate the Hate doesn't have a spotless track history either. And so, I keep these things in mind. But yeah, I don't really think anything of the Nintendad leak. Now, if you want me to tell you my opinion on the idea of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess coming out in the Switch 2 launch window, I don't really think these are going to be Switch 2 games, personally. They are made for, first off, they were GameCube games, right? And they were ported over to Wii or remastered for Wii U, right? So they had some enhancements.
Right.
The Wii U and the Switch are very comparable power-wise, right? They make tons of sense to come out for the Nintendo Switch, and yet through backwards compatibility, they can still be played on Switch too. If you want to have an upscaled version of these games, which will only look marginally better on the Switch 2, sure, you could do that, but they still got to come to Switch 1. There's going to be millions of people that aren't going to buy Switch 2 for years, but those millions of people will probably buy Wind Waker and or Twilight Princess HD. So, no, I don't really think it even makes sense to put these games exclusively for Switch 2.
No.
Can they launch around the same time? Maybe, but it feels kind of like a shot in the dark. Why would they release these games in the Switch 2 launch window for Switch 1? Do you want to argue that maybe they want to put that kind of content out there because it gives Switch 1 owners something to enjoy without wanting to move on?
Yeah, I mean, something's probably going to come out in the launch window for Switch 1.
Maybe, but then you might also want to consider, do you really want to sway people? Do you want to?
So what are we considering the launch window? We haven't even defined what that necessarily means in this context.
Sure. So when I was talking about the launch window, right? In my mind, my immediate assumption, launch window is a 3-month period of time, with those first few months.
That's also what I was thinking.
If you want to argue launch window is just within that first year, yeah, maybe Wind Waker or Twilight Princess drop within a year from now. I think that is conceivable because there still need to be Switch 1 games, and those are very easy games to put out there because they were completed many years ago. So, yeah, that there may need to be some little things done to make them work on Switch. But if we believe the rumors, they've probably been completed, the Switch versions completed, and they're just kind of sitting on them until they think it's the right time. So sure, maybe they come out in 2025, but also maybe they come out in 2026, and maybe it's just one of them. Or maybe they decide to hold off on one of them or both of them for actual remakes, not remasters, years down the road. So, of course, you could also argue, put out the remasters now, sell 4 to 5 million copies, and then 10 years from now, remake them anyways, and sell another 6 to 7, 8 million copies or more.
For sure. There's no reason why you couldn't do that. Because, I don't want to go into it too much, but, obviously we're expecting Ocarina of Time remake, and then potentially Majora's Mask remake after that. So it's going to be a while till, Twilight Princess would even be up to, for its chance at a remake. So we might as well just launch the remasters now and get some sales.
I think... So we're on the same page with Ocarina of Time remake, right? It's you think that's happening?
I do.
To what degree of certainty?
75%, 80%, fairly confident.
It's pretty high given that we don't have any leaks about it, right? We just have
a feeling.
we have just theories based off circumstance. But it makes sense. And we've talked. Maybe I'll touch on it more here, but I agree. And then once you get out Ocarina of Time remake, then the next logical leap is Majora's Mask.
Right. Because you
And
can
then
use
after,
so much of the same assets. You might as well get that out
right.
like a year later, maybe even a year or two.
I don't know if it'll be a year. Like, let's remind ourselves, like Majora's Mask 3D came out 4 years later, right?
That is
So,
true.
I think we'd be
I'm just saying
lucky.
if they wanted to, they could.
Sure, sure. But I'm gonna say that we'd be lucky if we get a remake 4 years later, another one. That's what I'm saying. I
I
think
guess
it
it
could.
depends on how long till the next 3D Zelda. Because
Well,
maybe it's not too far away, and we'll get that in between another remake
I agree.
instead
I
of two
mean,
remakes in a row.
well, that's what I think is gonna happen. I think the way this generation is set up, we get a remake first. We're
Hmm.
talking about 3D Zelda here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's already almost 2 years since Tears of the Kingdom came out, right? Because that was
right? Yeah.
2023.
Yeah, like we
Yeah,
and
crazy,
what's interesting
crazy
is
stuff.
this kind of brings us to our first potential like surprise of the Switch 2 Direct, right? Because I'm not
Mm,
expecting a Zelda teaser in the Direct. I'm not,
no.
right? If we go throughout the entire Direct and Zelda's not even mentioned, I'm not gonna be like, oh, what the hell? Where's Zelda?
Yeah, I
Right?
think they'll mention like a Breath of the Wild remaster
Yeah.
and Tears of the Kingdom remaster and stuff like that. But I don't think they're gonna announce like Ocarina of Time remake till at least like September of this year. The earliest I could see us seeing that.
Yeah. But a huge surprise would be us getting a Zelda teaser. Like that would
Yeah,
be
they've done tech demos in the past. I don't see them doing something like that nowadays.
I think the equivalent is like the first look at Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah,
This because I mean
that was
that
basically a tech demo because the game didn't look
yeah,
like that.
exactly. It was basically a tech demo. Exactly. Like I mean if we get a trailer like that, I mean that would be the best scenario I
Hmm.
think for Zelda
Imagine
fans.
if the
Well,
Breath of the Wild remaster looked close to that, though. That'd be great. That kind of fidelity. Whew.
yeah, it could. Um, and then we're talking about Ocarina of Time remake, right? Like like that's also a possibility. Like I would consider that a nice surprise as well because I just don't think you're gonna announce a remake. If the idea behind this Ocarina of Time remake is that it would come out for the 40th anniversary for Zelda next
Mm-hmm.
year, right? And also and maybe they also tie in the movie promotion into that as well,
Right.
right? So that's not a this year thing is my main point there. They're gonna have to save reveals for later on, right? It's not like they show all their cards on April 2nd. They're gonna show a lot though.
Mm.
So I would put anything, be it a Zelda remake or just a 3D Zelda, a new 3D Zelda teaser, as a big surprise, right? It's not expected, but
That
if
would
we
be
got,
big.
but it's plausible, and if we got it,
Yeah.
it would be. I
I mean,
mean,
that's the
I'd
thing
be
is
on
we're
cloud nine.
predicting. We're trying to predict a surprise. So inherently, we're doing something impossible because if you predict it, then it's not a surprise. So
Right?
we have to kind of even go with the things, almost the things that we seem like the least likely, but they're the biggest. It's an odd question to pose, but it's fun.
I thought you were judging me for my title
No,
or
I
my
think it's
topic.
interesting. It's just complex.
How loud and obnoxious is this?
Um, I wouldn't. I don't know. It depends on how annoyed you are by people chewing.
It's like really loud for me.
I mean, it's definitely audible.
It tastes so good.
What is it? Some kind of chips, crackers, pretzels.
Frank's fresh
Franks.
fruit mini market home style sweet plantain.
Ah.
Anthony Nelson says to stop, but I'm hungry. I'll take a break. I can hold it. All right. Pixel Morgana adds me. Will we see Silksong in the Switch 2 Direct?
I wouldn't imagine, but maybe. It just seems like it'd be a strange game to showcase for the Switch too. Like it's a hype game, like in the indie community and stuff, but it's not like exactly something that's going to show off your next gen system. Like that's definitely coming to Switch One. It would be like a cool announcement, but I don't know if it's the type of announcement that is best during these direct because you do have a limited amount of time and a limited amount of games to talk about.
I mean, I
This
don't
isn't a
think
normal direct because this is meant to showcase why you want to buy a Switch 2, not just showcase general games.
I think if there is like a third party like sizzle reel, like if there,
Yeah.
if there's some sort of moment where they're just kind of like, hey, we have a lot of partner content coming, we could see it pop up in there.
Yeah, I just don't expect it to get its own segment or like the release date to be announced at that event. Maybe though. It'd be a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I
Tell you
think
that.
the understanding now is that if we're gonna get an update on Silksong, it's gonna be maybe in June, Summer Games Fest, possibly.
Yeah, that'd be a good place to expect it.
But they could put I mean, they could have it in the sizzle reel, and then there could be just be a social media announcement like, hey, and they put out a full trailer, right? Around then, and then they put out the release date. Like that's possible.
Yeah, they could do that.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna rule out Silksong, right? Maybe we could call Silksong one of those surprises, right? That would be a big surprise to see it there, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, I might even be more willing. Call me okay. Maybe I'm being a little bit too risky here, but what I was gonna say is perhaps I'm willing to gamble actual money that Silksong shows up in the Switch 2 Direct and Zelda does not counting like a Breath of the Wild enhancement.
Okay.
Like and like I said, not as like its own dedicated segment, but like it's just one of many games that are in like a third party sizzle reel. So
it's not the worst bet ever.
Yeah. Here's a little bit more of that sweet plantain.
You're so hungry, bro.
Yeah.
This man needs some snacks in his life.
All right, DG at me. Hi, Andres. What game would you pick to be at the April Direct, even if it wouldn't happen? Sweet plantain chip extravaganza.
Yes.
Pikmin 5.
Pikmin 5. That's a good option. I'm gonna go for Luigi's Mansion 4. I think that would be a great game to see at that event. See how beautiful and the environments they can pull off that game. Because Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the best looking games on Switch.
Yeah, top 5.
Yeah.
At least top 7. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mentioned Pikmin 5.
Pikmin 4 is up there too in the top 5 probably.
Pikmin 5. No, yeah, Pikmin 4 just came out. Yeah. I took off a number. Yeah, I mean both Pikmin and Luigi's Mansion are up there. Sure. I think Luigi's Mansion 4 is more likely than Pikmin 5 to show up in the Direct.
Yeah, it's been a long time since Luigi's Mansion 3.
Right,
like 2019.
2019.
So nearly 6. It will be 6 years sometime this year, October.
Right. And the team that's responsible for Luigi's Mansion, Next Level Games, they come out with a game. They've been coming out with a Nintendo game every 3 years. They're now wholly owned by Nintendo, if I'm not mistaken. But every 3 years they come out with a game, and the last time they came out with a game was 2022 with the latest Mario Strikers game. So we're now in 2025. Pattern. The pattern would suggest they have a game coming out this year. Now, if they're working on Luigi's Mansion 4 for the Switch 2, I kind of think they'll need a little bit more time.
Yeah, a little time because it's the next gen game. Could be the first game they're going to do on the Switch 2.
But we say that, right? But Luigi's Mansion 3 came out 2019 on the Switch. it was a huge leap over Metroid Prime
Oh, yeah.
Federation Force on the 3DS, right? So even though
Huge.
they went from 3DS, right, 240p visuals, chibi visuals, right, to Luigi's Mansion 3, 3 years later on the Switch, one of the
Yeah.
best looking games on the console.
If they had done some HD development, if I remember correctly, for like the 360 and PS3 or something, like
Take a
some
look.
random games, I believe, if I'm thinking of the right studio. But they weren't like amazing. I don't remember what they are. I think there might have been a Marvel game. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
So yes, but no. Like, okay, so yes, they had developed Captain America Super Soldier in 2011 for Xbox
Oh,
360 and PlayStation 3 in 2011.
Yeah,
They also
so it was a
developed
Marvel game.
Microsoft Solitaire Collection for Microsoft Windows, iOS, and Android.
Very demanding graphics, I'm sure, on the Solitaire.
Right. So really, I don't think they had that much experience with HD
No,
development.
yeah, it was mainly just the one game.
Captain America Super Soldier in 2011.
Yeah. And
So
I don't even think if I remember, it didn't look like anything crazy.
Captain
like,
America Super Soldier Xbox 360. Let's see some of this gameplay. Holy guacamole.
Pull it up.
Nah. Yeah. I'm gonna pull up some screenshots. Give me a second. Let's see what will pop up here. I mean, doesn't look that bad. It looks like a Switch game. Like, that's a screenshot. Like there are, you know.
Yeah, it looks fine. Yeah, it looks like a 360 game. It looks fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it looks like a Switch game. But
it looks like a game
think most
ported
Switch
to
games. Huh?
It looks like a game that can be ported to Switch.
Oh, well, yeah, for sure.
Not all these pics are high resolution. Oh yeah, it's just taking a lot of load. Here, let me show you like a bigger version of it. So, you know,
Yeah, it's
next
360
level. Yeah. Anyway,
some of the materials in the armor and stuff was pretty good, but
yeah. So, point is though, Luigi's Mansion 3, I mean, like, I think it is actually impressive that they were able to turn around from after having put out Federation Force in 2016, right? Like, so they made that Captain America game in 2011, right? They didn't really have a lot of experience making HD games.
No.
And so, you know, they put out Federation Force for the 3DS in 2016. Although I do believe that they were actually behind the scenes working on a Metroid project that was going to have, you know, PS3 level like visuals for the Wii U. But that project turned into Federation Force for the 3DS instead, sadly. But anyways, they still came out with Luigi's Mansion 3 in 2019. So them being able to pull that off, I think from that, when you look at it from that perspective, would actually be very similar to them turning around and giving us Luigi's Mansion 4 in 2025. Like, that is not that much of a stretch given their track history. However, I am also more than willing to accept the possibility, and the very strong possibility, that they still take a little bit longer and it comes out in 2026. But here's the other thing. We are assuming they're working on Luigi's Mansion 4. It may not be Luigi's Mansion 4. It might be
really
something
hope
else.
it's Luigi's Mansion 4.
But Luigi's Mansion 4 just makes the most sense.
Yeah, I mean, the third one sold so well. Why would you not just continue on a 4 immediately?
You got the Mario movie coming out. It's Mario's 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge opportunity to capitalize on even stronger sales. Like, you get this game out even earlier on to the generation than Luigi's Mansion 3. Like, if Luigi's Mansion 3 was, I mean, I think it sold like what 14, 15, like at
Yeah,
least
that's what I was
yeah,
thinking, like 13 to 15 million, somewhere in there.
double check. Um, top. I can't type anymore. Top selling Switch games. Yeah. What's your guess, Brandon?
I'm gonna guess 15.5 million.
You're wrong.
Oh, dang.
Sold 14.25 million.
Well,
Yeah. So pretty
still
good.
pretty close.
Anyway, point being though, that came out in 2019 for Switch, right?
Yeah.
At 14. No Mario movie boosting Mario game sales. They get out of Luigi's Mansion 4 in that first or second year, as opposed to the third year, with the Mario
Yeah.
movie boosting sales for Mario Universe games. 14.25, that could turn to 20.
Could see that. Could see that.
Maybe I'm pushing it a little bit, but the point is that there'll be a lot going for it there. So, like, just from a
Yeah.
financial perspective, they should absolutely be working on Luigi's Mansion 4.
For sure. I mean, it's pretty much a guaranteed, 10 to 15 million seller again, at least. So, what other game are you going to make that's going to sell that much?
In contrast, Mario Strikers Battle League sold 2.5 million copies in since 2020.
Unfortunate.
It's
I
not
didn't buy
bad.
it because the
It's not bad,
reviews said it was kind of middling.
right?
Or mid, I guess.
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess when you sort of figure they probably didn't put that much resources into Mario Strikers Battle League. Like, they might have
Didn't
actually...
seem like it.
They probably were like, hey, we should probably get Luigi's Mansion 4 ready for Switch 2. So,
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I remember back in the days before Switch when it was the NX, and we heard about Luigi's Mansion 3, but we didn't know anything about it. All we heard was they were making a Luigi's Mansion game that had really, really good graphics. And I was like, oh man, I can't wait. Maybe we'll start hearing some rumors again about Luigi's Mansion 4. But I don't know, we haven't really heard anything about any first-party games, so they've really just been keeping the lid tightly shut on that one.
yeah. The question mark man asked me, hey, Andres, do you think Nintendo will announce anything for Mario Day on Monday? Yes.
Probably. Even
I
if
do.
it's not big.
Yeah. We actually got an announcement today regarding Mario Day.
Yes, I forget exactly what it was. It wasn't anything super big, I don't remember.
It's a 14-day trial.
Ah, yes. That's why I did it. Because it doesn't matter to me.
Well, there's actually a couple interesting
cool,
announcements today regarding Mario.
Okay.
This Mario Day, play a selection of classic games. Here, let me screen share. This Mario Day, play a selection of classic games featuring Mario on your Nintendo Switch system with a free trial of Nintendo Switch Online. For a limited time, you can make the fun last even longer with a 14-day trial. Offer ends March 17th at 11 p.m. Pacific time. Well, what games are they? Do they tell us?
Maybe you need the link.
I'm checking. What? The website doesn't. I don't think it really...
I think it just means because you have Switch Online, then you have access to like the old classic games that come with Switch Online. Because you have the Switch Online service. So unless it doesn't come with the expansion pack, then you don't have N64, but you still have like the NES and SNES, and what do they have? Game Boy now, right?
Apparently, I can redeem this. Do I want to redeem this?
I mean, I think if you do that, it just adds on 14 days to like whatever you pay for. But since you pay recurring, you'll probably never actually get those 14 days
Reward available
to
until
work.
March 18th, 2025. Redeemable one time. Play together and have fun online this Mario Day with a 14-day free trial membership with Nintendo Switch Online. The Nintendo Switch Online members can also join the My Nintendo Mario Kart Deluxe Community Challenge. Yeah.
What's the community challenge?
I was just join other racers globally to try to reach 1 million laps.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I feel like that'd be 1 million laps. I feel like that'd be pretty easy. I feel like that there's like how many copies of this game have been sold?
Yeah, gotta get people playing. So
I feel like they should go for like 100 million laps.
But yeah, but there is a selection of classic games. I just don't know what it is. Maybe you're right. It's just what's on NSO. But
I would assume otherwise, why would they not list it right? And that when you have the online, you automatically get access to those games. So that's probably what they're talking about.
It is they are offering a free trial for Switch Online. I think the idea is to get people to try Switch Online. So that's probably what it is. So yeah,
it's just weirdly worded.
There is also this thing. There's a sweepstakes for Super Nintendo World. For Mario Day.
Hell yeah.
So it is interesting they're making these announcements now. Mario Day is not for another week.
Yeah. So it's like, what are they going to announce on Mario Day itself then?
Something.
Because, you know, maybe there's something for Switch 1 for Mario Day, and it's a game. Maybe they announce it there. We haven't had a direct. There's still announcements we need to have for Switch 1. They could have something.
Mario
Galaxy 2? Who knows?
You ripped it out of my mouth.
I did. I snatched it. I saw it coming out, and I was like,
I let you. So I didn't say it. You did. That's not
true.
I don't know anything.
Then when it doesn't happen,
I mean,
they can flame me instead of you.
But I just want to make myself clear. I have nothing. Right? It's just something I want. That's it. It's a wish. That is all it is. It's a wish that makes sense, I think, but that is all it is.
Be nice. I've never played Galaxy 2. I had 1 as a child, and I did not have 2. 2 was out when I bought 1, but I was like, oh, well, I got to play 1 before 2. And then I just never got 2. I heard 2 is the better one, though.
Has Yoshi.
I like the story elements in 1. I've seen all of 2. So, like, I know about it. I just haven't had the chance to play it myself. They brought it to Switch, though. When I get my Switch 2, I'll play it.
Yeah. Having Hope here says, I'm still hoping Luigi's Mansion 1 will come to Switch. That would be
It'd be nice.
Really nice Mario Day announcement. Like, just port it over. Upscale. It's fine. Give me widescreen. I would be very happy with a very basic version of it like that. But I think would still look great. So
yeah. I would hope for eventually that we do get some kind of remake, like a proper remake for that game, because I think it deserves it. But it's probably not the time for that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Earlier, Ant had asked, what's the likelihood of Switch 2 getting the Kingdom Hearts series and Final Fantasy VII Remake as launch titles?
As launch titles? I don't know. But in general, I would expect both of those to come.
I agree.
Including Fantasy the new Kingdom Hearts 4. I would expect that to come. Maybe not at the same time as the other systems, but we also don't even know when that's coming out on those systems yet. So it could be day and date eventually.
I want to say that at least for Final Fantasy VII Remake, the likelihood is high that it's a launch window title.
Yeah, it definitely could be.
Yeah.
Seems like it's going to be one of those first third-party games that comes out, and the first good ones.
Yeah. That's what I think. Oh, well, here's another one that I think is a good surprise. The Arasan Tube says, new Star Fox teaser making a big return on Switch 2 in 2026. That's my bet on biggest surprise of the Direct. That could be, that would be it.
Would be a very big surprise.
That would be a big surprise. It's a plausible one, but because, at some point you got to think they're going to give us a new Star Fox game. But, it's kind of like, we don't know when, right? If they show that in the Switch 2 Direct with a 2026 release time, I'd be thrilled just to see a Star Fox trailer for a next generation console. Like that would just
Oh yeah,
that's
for
gonna be
sure.
exciting as hell. So that'd be awesome. And if it ends up being looking like a Star Fox Adventure sequel, then we're gonna be like, holy crap, Samus Hunter was right. But you know, I'll believe it when I see it.
Thanks.
Yeah. So is there anything that else, Brandon, that you think, oh, that could be a big surprise in the direct?
It's hard because it's a surprise, right? So like I wouldn't be thinking of it. So I'm trying to think. Man, the only thing that's coming to my mind is Mother 3 just being there, like a Mother remake or something. That would be insane. That would be a surprise for sure.
That would be a surprise. That's the kind of thing. If they were remaking Mother 3, I could see that as a show closer for a normal general direct. Wouldn't be a closer in the beginning of a Switch 2 generation. I would assume maybe a mini.
Hmm. I don't know. Mother 3 would be huge in general. Just the fact that it's coming would be
Yeah,
absolutely massive.
it'd
I
be
mean,
mad.
it's been a meme for so long. It's probably like, other than like big new games like Mario and Zelda and stuff. Outside of that, probably like the most anticipated game like to come to North America, right?
Yeah,
It's like it's above even things like Silksong, I would say, for like the dedicated hardcore Nintendo fan. Because even if you haven't played the game, like I've never played it, but I would love to play it. I like Earthbound a lot. I love Earthbound. I think it's one of the most interesting RPGs that's ever been made. And I
yeah,
want to experience
I agree.
the pseudo sequel. So, yeah,
It'd be a hell of a surprise.
it would.
Let's see here. Raijin asked earlier, would you rather have Luigi's Mansion 4 or Luigi's Mansion 1 remake with graphics at least on par with 3?
I'd
Uh,
rather have Luigi's Mansion 4, but I would love that. That's what I would really like to see Luigi's Mansion 1 with a modern lighting engine.
I think it's almost like asking, would you rather have Metroid Prime Remastered or Metroid Prime 4?
Right, because it's like you're always going to want the new game, right? Because you've never played
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Assuming it's not worse than the other game, it's almost always,
yeah.
better for the new game.
Yeah, I picked Luigi's Mansion 4. I don't need a full-on remake for Luigi's Mansion 1. I just want the game as is. Like NSO level upgrade, like very basic level upgrade, widescreen upscale just so it can look not terrible on a big screen.
I mean,
And
personally,
yeah,
I've done that myself through various means. It's like
sure.
I've played the game at widescreen, 1440p with higher
Yeah,
resolution textures. So
looks great.
I've had that experience. So personally, I want something like new, but I wouldn't say no. But I don't think I would pick up a basic remaster for Luigi's Mansion 1. Honestly, like personally, I wouldn't pick that up. Like I
I
would be
mean,
happy with it, but I
wouldn't be
wouldn't.
$60, right?
Yeah,
But maybe it's available as part of like GameCube NSO or something,
oh, I would definitely play it as part of that for sure. For
right?
sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion 4 for sure. Although I feel like we'll eventually get both. I don't know if we're gonna get a
Hopefully,
remake of Luigi's Mansion 1, right? Like a
right. I
big
think
word.
eventually we could get it, but it doesn't seem like any times.
Yeah,
Within this year or two.
yeah. Mauricio Winston. I was saying Twilight Princess getting a remake in Nintendo Switch, so that will be epic. Twilight Princess remake on Nintendo Switch would be
I
insane.
would love it.
I'll take it. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah. So I'm trying to think what other sort of surprises there could be. Oh, well, here's one.
Okay.
That Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, we expect it to be there, right? At this
Right.
point. But it's not for first off, it's not guaranteed that it'll be there, right? They don't like really, I mean, nothing's guaranteed except Mario. Like if Mario Kart's not there, then I think everyone would be totally shocked, right? But beyond totally shocked. But 3D Mario Metroid Prime 4 seem like pretty safe bets to show up in some
Yeah.
capacity.
I would be wildly shocked if Metroid Prime 4 didn't show up, especially because we didn't have a February Direct. Maybe they'll have a Direct this month
Right.
and they'll show it off. That's possible. But assuming that doesn't happen, this would be
Maybe
like
that's a
an
surprise.
insane
There's
thing
no
if they
Metroid
didn't
Prime
show it.
4.
That
The
would be a
surprise
big
is that Prime
surprise.
4 is
It'd be a
not there.
negative surprise.
Right. Not all the surprises have to be good ones. No, but I was actually going a different angle. I was going to go on the angle of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is the Switch 2 launch title.
Okay.
That would
That
be
would be a big surprise.
That would be a big surprise. So I want it to happen. I think there's some reasons why it makes sense. Of course, if it's not the launch title, I'm very happy playing Mario Kart Day 1. That's fine by me.
Yeah.
But a nice surprise would be Prime 4 as a launch title. I know people are gonna have their qualms with this, right? Like, oh, it's not gonna help Metroid sell, or it's gonna ruin the Switch 2. I think you can make arguments in either direction. And there's always a possibility it's not just Metroid Prime 4. Maybe it's Metroid Prime 4 and Mario Kart, or maybe it's Metroid Prime 4 and like Switch Sports Resort or something, or whatever it is. All I'm saying is it would be surprising to see Prime 4 Day 1, and I'd be very happy. I'd be very happy to see it, especially if it has nice visual enhancements for Switch 2.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, here's another surprise that could be there.
Okay.
Right?
I have one after that. Hopefully I can...
You go, since I just said one.
Okay. 3D Donkey Kong. A new 3D Donkey Kong would be a big surprise.
Huge.
I don't know who would be making it at the time, but I mean, somebody is making... Who's rumored to be making Donkey Kong right now?
3D Mario team.
Okay. Which is odd.
Yeah.
But probably a pretty big team.
Well, it could be that like the team's branched off and
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like they're probably a pretty big team, so they probably have enough for 2 projects. And they've been working on the 3D Mario for so long. But yeah, I would love to see that.
In the chat says that would mean no 3D Mario. I guess what we're just getting at is that Mario Odyssey came out in 2017, and it's conceivable that just Nintendo EPD blanket, right? Like they'll get support work from different members, right? And then there could be 2 different projects that the 3D Mario team had a hand in, or members of the 3D Mario team had a hand in, or maybe they created a new team for Donkey Kong, right? Like the point is that there's been so many years since Mario Odyssey, since that team has put out a project, it is conceivable that they could have put in enough effort and resources to have 2 major games ready early on for Switch 2. So
yeah. I wouldn't expect to see it at this event, though. I would be surprised if both of them were announced at the same time. That would be kind of crazy. But it'd be a big surprise, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's gonna be some surprises, right? And so I want to make that clear. Right, we're talking about like big surprises. The things we're talking about, they're not like super unrealistic. They're just not expected. If that makes sense.
mean, Mother 3 is kind of super unrealistic, to be fair. But other than that one,
but it is. I don't think it's that far fetched, Brandon. It is. Is it a scary prediction to make? I think I would say it's a scary prediction to make, right? But if you want to tell me, if you want me to like put gun to my head, will we ever see any more like Earthbound content down the road, I'm gonna say yes, right?
Right.
Because time will be on my side. But
Yeah.
you know, it only gets scary when you're like, hey, it's gonna be at this event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, maybe, like,
Could happen.
I agree. I agree that it's of everything we've talked about, it's probably the least likely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I guess it's my turn, right?
Yeah, you had one lined up, right?
I did, and then I forgot about it. Donkey Kong was a nice surprise. All right, so here's one. Actually, I mean, this is it's not mine. This is from the chat. Andrew Coda, Nintendo
Okay.
Land remastered as a Switch 2 launch title.
Oh.
Let me remix that for you. A new Nintendo Land
Yeah,
as a Switch 2 launch title.
you would. It would have to be a new Nintendo Land because it's
Yeah,
just not going to work
yeah.
properly.
There could maybe be new versions of some of the like games from Nintendo Land, but they would be new,
Yeah,
changed versions, and there would be just straight up new things there, new visuals, all that, right? Like it
yeah.
would be new,
You're not going to
uh,
have a gamepad equivalent to do those
right?
mini games the way they are on the Wii U.
Yeah, but a Nintendo Land sequel, I
Oh, I'd
think,
love it.
would fit very well, because you have the opening of the Donkey Kong expansion to Super Nintendo World. Like when Nintendo Land came out, there wasn't a Super Nintendo World, right? Like now you could have. So that was a Nintendo theme park game. Launching a Nintendo theme park game now might have some interesting, impact there. And also now
True.
on in this
True.
in this golden age of Nintendo where things can sell well, right? You're not putting it out to die on the Wii U, right? And you're
Hmm.
also not having it be the sole launch title, right? That wouldn't make it,
Right.
it would. I mean, there was also 2D Mario, but that was a bad choice. Like the idea would be you put it alongside something like a Metroid Prime 4 or a Mario Kart or a 3D Mario. You put it out there where it's like, oh, okay, cool. I can get my party game compilation and I can get my big adventure or what have you, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, I think a new Nintendo Land would actually probably sell several million.
Yeah, I think
I
it'd do
don't
pretty
see
well.
why not. Like I think it would do really. I think it probably would do well than a lot of smaller Nintendo IP. So
I would prefer that over something like 1-2 Switch.
it'll sell better than 1-2 Switch. I'll tell you that. Probably would also cost more to make though. But yeah, Wilberforce Wooster, a bad surprise. 1-2 Switch 2. Isn't there like a 1-2 Switch? Yeah, or 1-2 Switch everybody, or there's already a 1-2 Switch sequel. So a 1-2-3 Switch 2. I would. I just hope that series is dead. And that would,
Yeah,
yeah. We already
I
got
don't really
two.
care for it.
We don't need more. We don't need more. You want to, like I said, if you want to give us some sort of game that takes advantage of the unique features of the Switch 2, Nintendo Land 2, or call it Nintendo World. I don't know, but just a fault to that, or I'll be happy with the Switch Sports Resort. Like that would be fine as well. Um,
I would love Switch Sports Resort.
that would make me very happy. If you could actually explore like an island, like you could like in
Oh
Woo,
yeah,
that would be super cool.
so good.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, Nintendo Land was kind of like a follow-up to Switch Sports Resort, right? Because like you even had like
Yeah, sort of.
there was the first-person Zelda game, right, where you walked around with a sword and a shield in different Zelda environments fighting enemies. Like that was a really cool.
Yeah, you were
And
on like rails for the most part.
yeah,
Know.
it was on rails, right?
It
But
was fun though. I liked it.
was the sword fighting game in Switch Sports Resort.
Oh yeah.
That's what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
True,
it's
true,
like
true,
it's
true.
like
Yeah, it was
a
like that
successor to that.
for
Exactly.
sure. I
So
forgot about that.
yeah, my point is that yeah, like either or, I'll take it. Yeah, I'll be happy with either. So it'd be really cool. And they could, and like a new Nintendo Land could like I mean, the thing about Nintendo Land is it explores different Nintendo IP, right? Like the OG Nintendo Land had a Pikmin, it had a Zelda, it had a Metroid, it had a F-Zero, it had a Yoshi, it had a Animal Crossing, it had a Mario, it had a Luigi's Mansion. I think I'm forgetting one more. The Balloon Trip. Balloon Trip was there. Yeah. So and there was another one. There was the Ninja game.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Because there were some that were just like callbacks to really old,
right,
like Nintendo IP, right? So, I think a new Nintendo Land has an interesting opportunity, not for just being.
I would love it.
It would be a fun game that would sell well, but I think it also, by having certain areas based off certain Nintendo IP, it kind of like
they can make it like Astrobot, like on PS5, the pack-in one.
Sure.
Have it be a representation of like the whole history of Nintendo.
Like they could go bigger, right? Like maybe there's like a dozen or so games that are really fleshed out, right? But then within those games, you can explore and find like different like characters from the Nintendo universe, and maybe even turn it to kind of like Astrobot basically copied Smash Brothers, so it's fine, but like you collect trophies and there's like a slot machine from Melee, like in Melee, right? So like that would be like that. You can make it like something where you want to actually like trying 100% to go into the mini games and
for sure,
deeper and deeper, level by level, explore the hub area more as it
expands.
I mean,
they do that a bit in Nintendo Land. You do like earn different statues and different things that would be in the main hub, but they could go a lot harder on that.
Yeah. All right, hold up a second. Boonda here at you said, "Why you keep trashing Astrobot?" All right,
Who's trashing Astrobot?
I got several issues with this. First, you say you keep trashing, implying that I've been doing it, right? I have not been trashing Astrobot at all, right? And just the whole notion of you trashing even once. No, I'm not. I love Astrobot. Astrobot was my favorite game last year. It's so good. I was so happy when Astrobot won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and then they already acknowledged Nintendo and that it was inspired by Super Mario. Like, no secret. It's no secret that Astrobot takes a lot of inspiration from Mario and other Nintendo IP. If you don't like the word, when I say that I use the word copy, right? I mean, listen, everyone's copying one from another, right? So I don't mean any negative connotation by it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like
I was literally
Astrobot.
just saying that Nintendo should take inspiration from Astrobot, the built-in demo.
Right.
So yeah, of course.
Yeah. There are people that attack Astrobot, and I think it's extremely unfair.
Yeah.
It deserves all the praise and more. So it's I think it's one of the best games that Sony has ever published. Like, so
I have not played it yet. I've played the demo and I thought that was so good. And then I seeing all the physics and stuff in the full game, I'm like, man, I gotta play this. But I got other games that I'm going through.
I'm a fan of the series now. I liked the first game that, like you said, it's like it's more than a tech demo, I would say, right? Because it can last you like 6 hours or something. But the first game was like a mini game, like minis doesn't offer. It's not a good.
It has all these different
smaller game
types of gameplay that they throw in there. Because they have like the normal platforming, but there's always like these different gimmick sections that are really, really fun. Like the monkey, you go like a suit where you have like giant monkey arms and you like swing up.
Yeah. Here's gonna be another surprise for Switch 2 Direct. Astrobot for Switch 2.
I mean, it would sell for sure. I think that would sell.
It would.
I don't know if Sony wants to put games onto Nintendo. Obviously, they're fine with putting games onto PC.
Want to make money
with delayed releases, but maybe with enough delay of time, they could put some of their games on Nintendo as well. Some of their older titles.
Well, we'll put it
I would like to see something like Uncharted 4 come, or some of their like older PS4 catalog, maybe.
Hear me out. if 3D Mario is not going to come out to the holidays, right? Then putting out Astrobot on Switch 2 in that launch window might be a nice way to kind of like a good appetizer, right? That would be.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy it because I already bought it on my PlayStation 5. But there's a lot of people who
Right.
did not buy it on PlayStation that would buy it on Nintendo. So, and it's actually in some ways it's skillful marketing because it celebrates Sony, right? It celebrates a lot of series that were successful on Sony. Like they're not all Sony owned IP, all the different characters involved with Astrobot, but a lot of them are, and a lot of others are just games that were very popular on PlayStation, like Final Fantasy, for example. So I'm not. This is maybe Astrobot's even less likely than Mother. Actually, that's a good question. What is the least likely? Or what's the better way to phrase the question? What is the most likely of these two unlikely things? That maybe that's still bad, but
which one's more likely? Okay.
Which one?
I mean, you don't have to phrase it. You could just say which one's more unlikely and then list the two options. And the unlikeliness of those options is then implied.
Yeah, which one is more likely to happen? Yeah, that's fine. I guess because I wanted to put in the question like implying that they're both unlikely, and I know that, but hopefully everyone watching knows that I think both are unlikely. Which one is more likely to happen? Astrobot coming to Switch 2. Mother 3 remake. Right. Also,
I'm not even sure what I would vote, so I'm very curious which one would win this poll.
Yeah, I think it's a tough question.
Very tough.
All right. Which one is more likely to happen? Astrobot coming to Switch 2, Mother 3 remake for Switch 2. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Who wins the poll? Oh man. It's tough. Wow. No, this is gonna be the poll for the ages. I don't know which one wins.
I don't know.
It's a split tie so far.
I just, Mother 3 is so infamous that it's hard for me to ever say it's more likely than anything. So I'm kind of leaning towards Astrobot, but I'm very curious what the chat will think.
Yeah, it's a back and forth. This is one hell of a boxing match so far. Yeah. Something. One seems to be getting an edge. I don't believe it. Mother 3 has the edge.
What?
It might just be pulling away.
This is more likely, guys. More likely.
Well, I mean, Astrobot's a PlayStation. It's a PlayStation exclusive game made by a PlayStation developer that celebrates the history of PlayStation. So
I mean, we didn't specify a time frame, right? We just said on Switch 2.
Yeah, the question does not specify. Oh man. No, Mother 3 is running away with it now. This can't be. I'm gonna let it stew for a little bit. Okay. So, the surprise that I was gonna say, right, is we actually get a look at Pokemon Legends ZA for Nintendo Switch 2. I already think there's a pretty good chance that there is going to be a Switch 2 version, but I think the surprise would be that we actually see it in the Switch 2 Direct. And considering what we did for today's video, talking about the graphics comparison, I can see very easily how where they can improve on with the Switch 2 version. Here's the obvious one: higher resolution, right? The level of detail from far away doesn't seem to be that bad in this game compared to Scarlet and Violet, but if that can improve upon, sure. But something that is apparent is that there's a lot of simple like geometry and textures. Like if that can be just not like if buildings could not be just flat windows, like that would be like flat window textures. That would
Fair, but I don't
be
think that's a hardware constraint as much as that is a development thing. Because I mean, it's not like Switch One couldn't run buildings with modeled out windows.
no, but
Uh,
Game Freak may not be targeting they may be targeting very simple like visuals here because they just want to guarantee that a game that runs really well.
right, but I also think they want to guarantee a level of polish for everything, and having it be more simple gives them more time. I just don't think if they have that kind of design philosophy that they have the time to make a version of Switch 2 with entirely new assets. Because that's what it would take, right? You would have to model out entirely new windows and plans and
I don't know, like
bricks
it could be one of those things where they have a more detailed version already.
I just feel like if you have a more detailed version, like it would run on Switch. I don't think the problem with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is that they were targeting something too ambitious for the hardware. They just didn't have the time to realize their ambition. So I don't think, I think if they had the time, they would make it up to the same level of quality.
Maybe.
Like I don't think that they would not have the time to make fleshed out buildings on Switch 1 and then have the time to do that for the Switch 2 version. I think if they had the time, then they would just do it on the Switch 1 version. I don't think the Switch 2 version is going to be anything more than perhaps like high resolution textures, because they probably actually do have higher resolution versions of the textures and things like draw distance and resolution and have more stable frame rate. I don't think you're going to have like new models or anything because I don't see them having the time to do that. Or
the Pokemon models having the more advanced textures we saw in Scarlet and Violet, considering that Creatures Inc. is the one that kind of like all this stuff is already there, right? So it wouldn't be extra like work to, like they already have it. Like they don't have to make new versions.
That's true.
Necessarily for the Pokemon models. So using the more advanced Pokemon models, higher resolution, like those things could be in a Switch 2 version. I do see in the chat here that It Approaches says, Andre, you should go watch Ken and Chris's latest video on Pokemon ZA at the 24-minute mark. They literally said they don't see a Switch 2 version coming. Makes no sense. So I'll just let me explain. I'm going to explain why I think that there is a good chance that there is going to be a Switch 2 version. From the Terra leak, we know this is a real leak, right? Like, there's no debate about it's a 100% real leak, right? Like, Game Freak and Pokemon Company were issuing takedowns for all this content. From this content, later on, there was an initial wave, then a new wave started not too long ago. It was discovered that there is a file for Super Ikaku. We know that Ikaku is the codename for Pokemon Legends ZA. And we also know that there is a code name for Gaia and Super Gaia, and that Super Gaia is for Switch 2. This is also one of the places where we got more evidence of the Switch 2 code name being Ounce. Anyways, basic implication is there has been some evidence seen from the Terra leak that we know to be a real leak that there was at least a file for a Switch 2 version of Pokemon Legends ZA. That does not confirm that there will be a Switch 2 version that comes out to market, but there was at least a file for it, right?
Right.
So that's point number one, why I think it makes sense for there to be a Switch 2 version. Here's point number two. You look at software sales over the last few years, even the big Nintendo games, software sales have been trending downwards overall. And the later games come out, the later the even less interest there is in buying more games for Switch. yes, there's an active user base on the Switch, but people aren't buying as many games as they once were. So, given that Legend of Zelda is coming out late 2025, that's even more reason to think that its sales potential will not be as high had it came out in 2024 or 2023. So, I think it would make sense from a business perspective to also have a Switch 2 version. Not saying it's
Yeah.
going to be a dramatic improvement, but it will be somewhat of an improvement, and they will market that. And be it a separate release altogether or just a patch, somehow, some way, will be made clear that there is a Switch 2 version, and you will be able to play that. And so you're going to give Legend ZA not just the Switch 1 audience that is waning in terms of buying games actively now, but also the growing Switch 2 audience that will start this year. So those are
Right.
two reasons, right? One, software sales have been trending downwards. You don't want to put out your biggest, best games this late into the cycle with no room to kind of continue to grow long term. And two, the Terror League. So that alone, I feel like is solid reasoning. I could come up with more, but I think those 2 points alone make my case pretty strong. So
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Nintendo's gonna want to pull those Pokemon fans who want to play the best version of Pokemon, and even I don't think it's gonna be anything crazy. Like I don't think we're even gonna see like DLSS in this game. I think it'll just be a higher resolution because I don't see them actually putting in the work to make DLSS work with their engine.
sure.
They don't even have. It doesn't even seem like TAA works with their engine, which is an inherent like core feature that you need to then make DLSS work. There's a lot of inputs that you need that don't seem to be supported by this engine. There'd be a lot of work to do. But maybe there's like a native 1080p or native 1440p maybe version at a nice 30 or maybe even 60 FPS. That'd be great. Maybe there's 1080p 60 FPS, 1440p 30. Although I don't know if I see modes happening for Pokemon game, but who knows? Either way, I think with some more draw distance, a higher resolution, and a better frame rate, you'll still have it be the best version of the game, even if it's not like something that looks anywhere near what you would expect for like a Switch 2 game.
Like it's not going to look incredible, but it's gonna, it'll look clean.
Yeah. Hopefully.
It'll look clean. Yeah. So, I'll just acknowledge Boomini here giving me a shout out. Shout out to Andres for having a second live stream this week. We were spoiled with such great discussions. I'm glad you enjoy them. I appreciate that. Thank you. It approaches with a solid counter argument here. Pokemon sales don't drop no matter what Game Freak does. Scarlet Violet was a mess and still sold all-time records. LOL. I think there's absolutely some reason with what you're saying. They do sell really well. I do think Legend ZA is still going to sell strong on Switch 1. But do I think it's going to sell as well as Legends Arceus did? I'm not so sure. I think
I'm not even sure if I'm gonna get it. I need to see more of the game because I'm very unconvinced by the allure of these wild zones versus I might just because I didn't play Legends Arceus, so for me that's a brand new game. I could just go play that instead, right? So I'm not even sure if I'm gonna pick this up or not because it doesn't seem like it's gonna have these big open and explorable environments, which is personally what I was hoping for. Because that's why I liked Arceus, and I was hoping they would build off of that. But it seems like they're going in a different direction. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it or not. I don't know if this game is going to be as exciting as that game or not.
I'm going to show you guys this list of Pokemon game sales. And I think this will serve my argument, but let's see. So, best-selling Pokemon game ever is Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green, right? But that came out for the Game Boy, right?
Wow.
So it's not really relevant for this conversation.
No.
Although you could argue Gold and Silver came out later into the generation of Game Boy Color, which Nintendo includes as part of the Game Boy generation, but I feel like it's a little unfair.
The Game Boy Color is definitely still Game Boy.
Right.
But,
well, I mean, so I don't want to consider like all I'm saying is that you could technically argue that because this came out so late into the generation, its sales potential was not as high, and so it sold worse
Oh,
as
well, yeah.
Generation 1. But you also could just argue, well, Generation 1 was a blip regardless. So, Sword and
Yeah, I
Shield
feel like
came
they
out
could get back to Gen 1 sales if they just step up the quality. But, hey.
maybe. Sword and Shield, part of the same generation as Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet and Violet has sold less than Sword and Shield, not by much though. Maybe Scarlet and Violet catches Sword and Shield. That's debatable. They've been supporting Scarlet and Violet for a long time. So I don't know. I think that's a toss up, but I'm kind of leaning in the direct. It's tough to say, but Scarlet and Violet also came out in 2022, not that late into the Switch generation, right? Like it's not a 2023 2024 game, but even so,
Yeah.
still second game in the generation, later into the generation, didn't sell as well. But 2022 Switch sales are still pretty strong. Looking through, Diamond and Pearl had its own separate generation, so we don't really have anything to compare there. X and Y came out 2016, right? So that sold 16.73 million. Sun and Moon came out. No, I'm sorry. X and Y came out 2013. Sun and Moon came out 2016, and technically, sales are worse. However, I do remember that well, then the thing is, since this came out 2016, Switch launched in 2017.
Yeah.
So it was still during the time where the 3DS was the only platform to really play on Nintendo. So sales were still worse, right? Sun and Moon's considered a better game, but sales are still worse. And also the game ran better on new 3DS.
It's significantly better.
Black and White 2, like where is Black and White 2? Like Black and White sold 15.64 million on the Nintendo DS. Nintendo DS was a strong, it sold a lot. It's the best selling Nintendo console of all time. It's not even on the list. Why is it not even on the list? Am I blind?
Which one are you looking for?
Black and White 2.
Oh.
It's not even on the list.
Oh, maybe it didn't sell that well.
There's no way.
Maybe it got sequelitis hard.
I saw a number through my Google search, but I don't want to trust the AI overview. I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Hold on. It sold actually about half. Pokemon Black and White 2 came out in 2012. Actually, this might be a really good example for my point. So, when did the 3DS come out, Brandon? What year?
I don't recall. 2011? 2010?
2011, early 2011, right? So, Pokemon Company did their thing, or Game Freak did their thing, where they didn't get a game ready for the next generation. Instead, they released it for the old generation, right? And so this game came out, right, after the 3DS came out, and it sold only a little bit over half as much as the prior game that only came out 2 years beforehand.
Yeah.
So this is probably the best example because of the timing of when it came out. It came out after the launch of a next generation console, and you see how much worse it did, right? And so,
yeah.
You
could say Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are the same way, except they're not really new games.
Well, Ultra Sun and Moon. I mean, the thing about Ultra Sun and Moon, I didn't buy it, but did I not buy it because of my Switch, or did I not buy it because I wasn't going to buy it regardless? Hard to say, but it is also a similar scenario where it came out only a year later, but it was too. I think these are probably too similar to say for sure.
That's why I'm saying it's like it's not really a new game. It's kind of a new version of the same game,
right? So it's tough to say, right? But my point is, I think you could, if you look at the Pokemon data, it somewhat supports my point. Later games tend to sell worse. Switch has been around. We just enjoyed the 8-year anniversary for Switch a lot yesterday. Yes, Pixel Morgana here. Boots.
Yes.
Yeah, Brandon's cat is
He woke
meowing.
up from his nap.
Yeah. Anyways, so I do think that, if you want to maximize sales potential, you want to have a Switch 2 version. So
Yeah,
I think
it's not like we're saying it's gonna flop if it doesn't come out on Switch.
No, it's
2,
not gonna flop. It's still gonna, yeah, like
because it will still be playable. That's the one thing it has. At least
Yeah.
backwards compatibility exists, so it will still be playable on that console,
Absolutely.
even if there's a specific version.
Yeah. And I think that you bring up a good point, right? When I say this, I'm not saying that Legends EA is not going to sell on it's going to sell on Switch, but is it going to come close to selling as well as Legends Arceus? I don't think so. If there's only a Switch 1 version, if there's a Switch 2 version, then it'll help a little bit. Yeah. Boomini asks me, if you had to bet money on what Zelda game we're getting this year, what would it be?
I think it's just going to be the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom upgrades. Maybe we get a Wind Waker HD or Twilight Princess HD, perhaps.
I mean, that's so like when we put money on the line, I become more careful, right?
Hopefully,
Breath of the
you'd hope.
I would put money on some sort of enhancement being available for Breath of the Wild in this year. I am not going to say the same for Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying I don't want to put money on it. Not this year.
I'd be shocked if they only did Breath of the Wild.
Well,
unless it's like a big deal upgrade. But it should be very easy to do the same kind of upgrades for Tears. It's the same engine. It's just upgraded version of the same engine and a lot of the same assets in the same world. It's like, why would you not be able to get both?
Okay, all right. I hear what you're saying, but let me kind of throw something out here at you. Nintendo has made every game for Switch Online already. Been made, totally ready. Doesn't require that much work to be put on the Switch Online. Yet they still wait and put them out in waves over time. There's still a lot that they have not done. So I personally think that they're gonna probably not put out every single Switch game that they eventually will day one. I think over time there will be some more added, and that may include Tears of the Kingdom. Also, I would say that requires more work than an NSO title, a typical NSO title.
Yeah, but I mean, that's my point. Is like most of the work's the same work for Breath of the Wild, so it's not that much more work, and we don't even know like what kind of work the Breath of the Wild is going to be.
All right. Well, actually, we do maybe because the reported technical demonstrations for Switch 2 there was two. There was the Matrix demo, right?
Yeah.
For 5, and then there was the Breath of the Wild tech demo, which supposedly was a game running at 4K, at 60 frames per second, and no load times. So I don't know. Like, to me, that seems a little bit more complex.
Right. We know those features, but we don't know other features. Also, both those features, if you have the engine optimized for their, because the T239 is the name of the chip, right? The Switch 2 processor, it has not machine learning, sorry. It does have that, but it has a decoder and encoder for like compression and like fast loading. So if you have to, kind of make the code to make it work with that, but it's not too hard. But if you do the work for that for Breath of the Wild, then that feature, it's the same engine, so you've already done the work, it already supports in the engine. You just click the support button, right? You would think, and then boom is for both. There's not going to be extra work, I wouldn't imagine, for that. 4K is also not really work. That's mostly just QA testing. You just turn up the resolution and it just tests to make sure it works. Maybe you need to figure out what kind of dynamic resolution range you use.
Ganondorf takes over, though.
What?
What if at 4K Ganondorf takes over?
I see. You just lose instantly.
Yeah, that's it.
It just glitches the game and Ganondorf
anyway,
wins.
listen, I'm not saying
CTFS is the same way.
I don't think it takes a lot more work, right? Just kind of imagine it would be a little more, right?
Like, I mean, there's work there, but it wouldn't be anything hard unless they don't upgrade the assets, right? If going in with like new models for things, because the game has more types of environments that aren't in Breath of the Wild. It'd be a lot more work.
Sure, but the NSO titles are extremely simple too. Is my point, and we still don't get those all at once. That's what I'm saying. But
their strategy for that is to sell the online. So I guess if they're trying to use these patches to sell the online, then they could. But I don't think it's going to be like a main seller for the online. It may be something that you get for free with the expansion pass, like DLC, but also don't center how they do DLC around that. They just add certain DLCs to that. It's not part of their process with making DLC. It doesn't change anything with that. So I would assume that these game upgrades would be the same way. Like maybe it's a bonus for NSO, but NSO doesn't determine or change the style of release for these upgrades.
Yeah.
But we still may not get them both.
Right.
We may not. I would be very shocked and just like, what? It'd be a weird decision for me. I don't understand why they would do that.
I mean, Mario Galaxy 2 not being included in 3D All-Stars is still a weird decision.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. Nintendo makes a lot of weird decisions. I would just hope that's not the case.
I mean, it really just comes down to there's a lot of variables here, but
for sure.
To kind of come back to the question, the reason we're talking about this Breath of the Wild thing, Brandon and I don't even really want it. I wouldn't mind Breath of the Wild.
I want it.
But I don't want it. Oh man, I can't wait to pay $70 for this, right? No, I don't.
No, it would need to be like a $10 upgrade. I don't think they can come out with like a whole new. I mean, they could. I don't think they should come out with a whole new version unless it has like significantly upgraded asset quality, and then I'll be like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll pay for that. But if it's just the upgrades that we've heard about, 60 FPS, fast load times, 4K resolution, then that's not worth $70.
Yeah. But the reason why we're talking about this, right, as a likely title this year is because it's been leaked, basically. So that's why. There was the project code names, and one of them includes a King O, which basically means a Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild. Now, does that end up being its own separate release? Does it end up being just an NSO release? We do not know exactly what form it's going to take. But when you also factor in those reported tech demos from 2023 and what I just said about Breath of the Wild being at 4K 60 FPS with no load times, there could be a connection there. So I personally think that if they did do something like this, it wouldn't be I don't know. I just don't think there would be a lot of fanfare for it. I think it would be something that's done so that way Breath of the Wild is just kind of future-proof for Switch 2 so it continues to sell.
Right.
But it's not like, oh my God, Zelda fans, here's your big Zelda content for the year, right? And so...
No, I think it would probably be included in a sizzle reel of 10 games at launch that are going to be upgraded on Switch 2 or something.
10 might be too much, but maybe, yeah. Maybe
not day one, but in the launch window or something,
Sure. Yeah, that I can see. And so, I think there's room for some other type of Zelda content this year. Maybe that's Wind Waker HD for Switch 1. Through backwards compatibility, you can still play it on Switch 2, and that's it. That'll probably sell 5 million copies, right? And people will be very happy about it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they
there
could,
you
if
go.
it comes out after Switch, they could literally just add the little line of code that makes it work at 4K, do a little bit of QA
Yeah.
testing to make sure it doesn't like tank the frame rate or something, and then just have a nice little 4K version on Switch too.
Yeah. Mall64 in the chat. What's up, buddy?
Yo, what's up, man?
As Sean says, I can't believe they add one game to the music app every month when they have thousands. Like, this is just what they do.
Yeah,
They could add a whole bunch, but
Yeah.
they're not going to. That's going to be a little bit at a time. So,
I do wish the Nintendo
yeah.
because I like it. It's pretty high quality. I will say it's kind of slow and a bit buggy, so that's annoying. And it doesn't have as many games as I would like, but it's fine. I like that it has like the playlist for different types of moods and stuff. Those are nice. It's probably the most convenient way to listen to Nintendo music now, but I don't think it's that great of an app. I give it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's fine. It's serviceable. It could be a lot better.
Yeah.
Getting hungry.
I am hungry. And
This
so
man's
because of that,
starving. If he didn't have any snacks, he would drop dead in the middle of the podcast.
I might still. So I'm gonna end the podcast. Yeah. I'm serious. I'm ending the show. So
Okay.
final question is points. Put them out now. I'm closing out this poll I had up. We got 60 votes in. With the 60 votes they got in while it was up, I'm waiting for it to post, but the public has chosen the option that is more likely. For whatever reason, the poll is taking a while to calculate, even though I already know the result. So I can't see it in the chat yet. It's probably going to pop any moment, but we got 60 votes, and 58% said that a Mother 3 remake is more likely. So that means that 42% said that Astrobot for Switch 2 is more likely. So, I mean,
It's a surprising turnout. I wouldn't have expected that.
It's not totally lopsided. Mother 3 does win, but yeah, I mean, at first it was 50-50 for a good while. And there the poll finally comes in. But yeah. So both are unlikely, right? Both are kind of like very crazy surprises if they were to happen.
I don't think
I'll tell you
anytime soon.
I will tell you one more surprise before we close out, right? One more one more thing that it's not an expectation, but if we get this, I'd be super happy, right? So since we're talking about this idea of some kind of enhanced version of Breath of the Wild, maybe Brandon's right. Maybe they do include Tears of the Kingdom. I don't believe it, but maybe they do. What if they include some type of new content, maybe something that kind of connects it to, fills a little bit of the gaps of what's going on. Maybe it's like its own separate thing, but you get it when you have these, right? And it's just like it's a side adventure with Link and Zelda, maybe a new area that's close to the typical Hyrule. And it's kind of like what we see with the Xenoblade games, where there's like an epilogue story or something. That technically wouldn't be DLC. They said there would be no DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. This wouldn't be DLC. This would be new content releasing for Switch 2, right? And so you can play Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in 4K, but also this new epilogue story or whatever it is as well. That would be a big surprise. That would have me spend $70. I would do that. I'd spend $80 for it. So yeah, I would love to see something like that.
It would be like a dual pack then.
I don't really know how it would work or it would make sense. I really don't.
I would assume it would have to if you need. Well, I don't know.
But
I wasn't.
I don't see them to release a dual pack. I don't see a world where they put Breath and Tears in the same case. I don't see that happening.
No, it's very unlikely. Unless that's the only way of playing the upgraded versions, and then I could see that, because I feel like then you'd have to include it in a dual pack. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Um,
All right, hear me out. Hear me out. What if there is a Breath of the Wild physical version that is released? Okay. However, you can still. All right, I have this chip that I want to eat. All right, I'm gonna just order food right after this. Okay. So this is how maybe it could work. There will be a physical release for Breath of the Wild, right? That is remastered. Maybe it even includes the extra content in the case. Maybe it does. However, Tears of the Kingdom also, you would be able to play enhanced, but it would be done through a patch, right? Both games actually can be done through a patch, but you could also opt to just buy the physical version of Breath of the Wild that has new content in there. And let's say you don't buy the physical version ever, right? You would just have to pay for this expansion story separately. That's what it is. Maybe if you have NSO, it's a $10 upgrade for Breath, $10 upgrade for Tears, and the expansion content is 30. But if you buy it all together, you get a discount and it's $40. That's all digital, right? But there is a physical version for $70. It's Breath of the Wild 4K that has new content in there. Right. And then Tears, it's just there is no physical Tears of the Kingdom release. It's just hey, this game has the same 4K 60 treatment, and you just have to pay for a patch to have those visuals, and that's all it is.
I can see that.
I'll tell you, if they did that, I would buy it.
Yeah,
because of the new content, and then with the minor enhancements to the visuals and performance, I would be like, all right, well, I guess I'll replay these games again and see how it looks and runs, and then also play this exclusive new content that I wish came out sooner. So, yeah, I'd be all for that. Do not believe that's going to happen at all.
No, I don't see new content happening.
This would be a big surprise, right? But if they did that, all of a sudden, new Zelda content for the launch of Switch 2 might be kind of a good idea. Actually, all right, hear me out for a second. Okay, I know this might sound kind of crazy, but continuing down this train of thought, right? I've argued in the past that if Mario Kart's going to the launch title, Metroid Prime 4 might be a really good, might be a really good 1-2 punch. But many may be concerned that Metroid Prime 4 should perhaps have its own day in the spotlight, right? And maybe that is the case. Maybe Nintendo agrees. And so Metroid Prime 4 maybe comes out a little bit later, maybe a month or two later down the road, or even later into the year we see Metroid Prime 4. Maybe it's also distance from Doom Dark Ages, which is a very similar game that's coming out May 15th, right? So maybe they don't want those games to also coincide. So there's a few different reasons why maybe you don't want Metroid Prime 4 to come out in May or June, right? But if you have Mario Kart, Nintendo may still want to have some sort of first-party adventure game also there. So insert Breath of the Wild remaster with this new expansion story, and also a Tears of the Kingdom visual patch that you can also get if you so choose. That might actually be a solid 1-2 punch. You have Mario Kart, you have new Zelda content. I mean, Mario Kart alone would probably be fine. So, this is just kind of a little bit more, right? But it would also kind of satiate those who are looking to have some sort of single-player adventure to have from Nintendo day one on Switch 2. And it wouldn't have to be Prime 4. You could save Prime 4, a little bit later so it could have the spotlight. Like that is... It makes sense in my head. Do I think that's what's happening? No. This entire live stream is talking about, surprise things, right? So... we'll see what they actually do. Shout outs to Taker610 with the super chat. I bet they show Prime 4 mouse controls. Totally agree, right? So this is not a surprise. This is an expectation. I think Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is going to have a segment. I think they're going to show off. Though it's my personal expectation. Let's be clear, right? I know some people still don't want to believe it's a cross-gen title, and we don't know until we know, right? But I think it's going to have some visual enhancements. To what extent? We'll see, right? There's certainly a debate to be had there, but having the mouse control functionality that's a unique thing. Metroid's one of the few games that look from Nintendo that would really be able to take full advantage of this. So yeah, I think that they would show off this
Oh
game
yeah.
with this functionality.
And if you look at the Prime Master, like insane
You
amount
turn into a
of
robot.
control schemes, options, and it's crazy. So I would expect them to support that control option as well. It's going to support like every different type of control option possible.
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason I can barely hear you, Brandon.
Prime Masters.
Yeah, you're just phasing out of existence.
I don't know.
Model 64. I bet Splatoon 4 will be there to showcase a shooter using mouse controls.
It had some connection issues or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But Splatoon 4 maybe
will
being
come
there.
within the first year.
What? What's Splatoon 4?
Maybe not this year. Maybe early next year.
Yeah,
I think it will come.
Splatoon 4 has a really good chance to be in a direct. I don't like the interesting thing about Splatoon 4 is that I don't even know if I want to call that a surprise.
No, I wouldn't say it was a surprise.
It's like somewhere in, but it's not as expected as 3D Mario and Mario Kart and Prime 4, but it's not as like, oh man, it's not like Luigi's Mansion 4, Pikmin 5 either. It's somewhere in the middle. So I mean, I have no doubt Splatoon 4 is on the way, right? They're very rapid.
I just don't know if it'll be this year or next year.
Yeah. And some people would say, well, but it's the same EPD group, right? So some people would be wondering, well, shouldn't we get Animal Crossing next instead? Shouldn't they take turns? Did they take turns between like Splatoon and 1 and 2?
No.
No,
I don't think it's actually the same exact people. Like I imagine it's like kind of a dedicated thing, or at least they always kind of have both going, but maybe one's more focused than the other. But I don't think they just completely stop making Animal Crossing or stop making the next Splatoon game.
No,
I think they have both going at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe it's the same thing with the 3D Mario Donkey Kong idea.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I could see Splatoon coming out like this year or early next year, and Animal Crossing coming out next year or early 2027.
I mean, with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, I mean, it's not. We don't know if it's gonna be a multiplayer shooter, right? So they may want to have a multiplayer shooter.
I might end up being wrong about this, but I have a very strong feeling this game will not have any multiplayer component.
Prime?
I think they might end up developing a multiplayer Prime in the future as its own thing. Maybe for NSO, maybe not. But I don't think there's going to be a major multiplayer mode in this, or even I just don't think they'll have that. I think it'll just be the single player.
I wouldn't really like. I would,
especially with rumors about them potentially wanting to get Prime 5 out in a few years from now.
Yeah. I see what you're saying there, right? Like they may just want to move on to the next project, and multiplayer might kind of get in the way with that a little bit. I think there could be multiplayer, but also I agree that there might not be. Like it's kind of a toss up for me. And either way, I don't care. I just want the game. like the multiplayer is going to be cool, but I'm there for the single player. Like,
right.
I'm there for the masterpiece adventure.
The meat and potatoes is the story, the campaign.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. Yeah, it like there is like a lot like what do we call this a surprise? Like, do we think like Nintendo is gonna have like I mean I think it's gonna be there, but I don't know if we want to call it a surprise. This idea that Nintendo's gonna have like voice chat features and things like that. Some people will probably think it's a surprise, right? Because it seems very un-Nintendo compared to the past, but based off our expectations from what we understand of Switch 2, you and I think others also kind of think that some of these elements are going to be there. So maybe that you call that a surprise. And I guess if there is things like that, more communication features, they may want to have a big online game available early on. But we've also got Mario Kart for that. Right. So
Mario Kart, Splatoon will be there not too long after, I'd assume. Hopefully.
Yeah.
We could have another game like Arms potentially that they may be working on. I'm sure they'll have other
Legs.
things. Like they don't need Prime 4 multiplayer.
Bro, you know what I would prefer more? A Star Fox online multiplayer game.
Oh yeah, a
Yeah.
purely online
Yeah.
multiplayer focused Star Fox would be
Oh,
insanely good.
I don't know about purely. I'd still want an
Well,
arcade, yeah, mode where I can go through levels and do the story.
I
But
mean, yeah, I want that, but I think they can do that as a separate game. Focus on making like a separate Star Fox thing.
bro,
But
F-Zero online.
ooh,
You
yeah,
better get those Ethernet cables connected.
yeah. I mean, if they have F-Zero
Yeah.
remaster, that could be a game that both keeps people who are on Switch 1, keep them having their accounts, and also sells accounts on Switch 2. Because remember, they got to keep people who have to upgrade to Switch 2, they got to keep them on those Nintendo accounts. So maybe we
Yeah.
will see like F-Zero remastered on Switch 1 and 2 with some nice online multiplayer.
Maybe. Netweed09 with another super chat. Thank you for the super chat. I keep forgetting we even know we're getting Beyond plus Mario Kart 9 this year. I don't know, but for me, that already takes this year beyond 2017. Yeah. Prime 4,
It's big.
Mario Kart. I know some people may not want to include Legend of ZA, but I still think it's going to be a pretty good game. Like that's Xenoblade Chronicles X. We're getting, just a few weeks. We got a 3D Mario. You throw in a Splatoon 4, throw in a new Star Fox. All of a sudden,
I think
yeah,
this year has potential
yeah,
to be better. I think we're gonna have, because there's gonna be a few more months where it's slow before like the big games start. Because obviously, it's March 3rd was yesterday, and the Switch 2 is not launched yet. So obviously, there's not gonna be so much time in this year. But I think if you just look at the 12-month period, right, the first 12 months, that might be better than the first 12 months of Switch. We'll see, or at least I think it's going to be at least comparable. I would hesitate to predict it's going to be better, but I mean, we do have a new Mario Kart game, whereas before it was just Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which did have a new battle mode, but otherwise same content there. We had a new Splatoon game though. That was big. So most of the games were new. So I mean, it's really just Mario Kart that was an old game, and Breath of the Wild was also on Wii U, but it's still like, it's still a new game. Nobody had played it on Wii U yet. So I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to look back, after the first year ends, where we can look at it and really decide.
yeah. I mean, it's not something we're gonna know once the year's
No.
done, even because I think sometimes you got to sit on these games and kind
Oh,
of
for sure.
see
You don't
how
want the
they
recency
age.
bias to.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyways, I think with that, we will wrap up tonight's discussion. Thank you everyone for coming by.
Yeah.
There
Thanks,
will
guys.
be more countdown stuff. Right, not every day it's gonna be a live stream, but there will be more countdown stuff. And I think I have an interesting idea for tomorrow video that I think a lot of you guys will
Okay.
like. So we'll see what happens. But take care, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.